Well, hold up, sir. You just sang your choirly conduct or whatever the fuck you want to do at church. You just sang your little song. Hold up now. Telling me the media tells me what to do. First of all, nice soliloquy you just had. The question was, does your political beliefs tie into who you choose to date as a partner? You said that you established there's a bridge you might have to cross if you and your wife disagreed on, but the idea is, I'm going to use your word, the idea is that y'all already talked about this and discussed that bridge. So you didn't have to cross it whenever it came up. So therefore, y'all already decided that y'all had a set of principles and morals and values that aligned in order to teach that child before you had it. And welcome back to UnWoKeN, telling you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you motherfuckers who don't want to listen. Folks, back here with Mr. Alex Mejia, Carter Semino right there behind the camera, producing this fine show. Make sure to check out Acadiana Cast on TikTok and Facebook, as well as Lord Scotty D on Instagram, Acadiana Cast on Instagram. And I think on TikTok, it's Acadiana Cast Network, correct?
I think it's Acadiana Cast Network across the board, but some of them have underscores, some of them are the same word.
Yeah, it's always hard to figure out which one's which.
There's no congruency.
Yeah.
That's a branding issue that I'm facing right now, but
just look at the one that has post on it.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. And folks, today's show is brought to you by Cotton & Co. Be different, be you. So, Mr. Alex, it's damn good for you to join us again.
Thank you. Nice to see you again.
Nice shirt, as always.
Always.
I love the consistency.
Yeah, it's actually a little backstory. This has been one continuous video this entire time. He just keeps cutting it into little clips to make it look like better. But it's been a 16-hour long podcast.
Bro, what's your laundry thing like? Are you having to wash this shirt like twice a week?
Don't let him lie to y'all. It's been one video this whole time. This is all a scam. This is all part of the system.
It's a psyop. I have a wardrobe back there.
Scotty just goes in the bathroom and changes his shirt to make it look like it's a different video, but it's actually not. I'm the only one that does not change because I do not stick up for the man. I only bow down to my wife. No, I'm just kidding.
Shit. We're going to get into that tonight. It is a late night here at Acadiana Cast. I like how you have that red behind me, too.
Yeah, try something different. Put the blue behind you, mostly out of laziness because I use
blue's
the blue.
better than red.
Well, you had a long day.
I've had a long day. I've had a long weekend.
We appreciate you staying up late with us.
Oh, it's okay. It's not past my bedtime yet.
Yo, I went to bed at 9 last night. I woke up just completely out of it.
How did that feel?
Different.
You're a night owl?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I go to sleep late. I wake up early. I'm good to go, man. I just need 3 or 4 hours. I'm good. Yellowstone was on last night, though.
I haven't watched the new season yet.
Oh, shit. We're not going to spoil anything. All right, in light of the midterm elections and me still recovering from that, we decided that today we'd tackle a subject that we kind of hinted on a few shows ago, and that is, do politics play a role in relationships or who you choose to have as a partner? I say 100% absolutely. Mr. Mejia, on the other hand, thinks that is complete and utter bullshit.
Let me rephrase that. I think Scotty is utter bullshit. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, Lord. Here we go. But so I want to know, like, really, as a deep thinker, the congruent deep thinker that you are, sir, how do you think that politics doesn't play a role in who you decide to be with?
Who I decide? I mean, I'm not going to know their political affiliation until after I get to know them. Is that the first thing that you talk about whenever you meet someone?
That's a big thing for me.
Is that the first question you ask them? Like,
do you have that in your bio on like Tinder and stuff?
Well, I haven't been using Tinder anymore, but I used to have. If you have pronouns on your bio or anything like that in your bio, we're probably not a good match.
So let me ask you, Scotty, do you like whenever you meet a lady for the first time, it's like you shake her hand and you're just like, are you Republican or Democrat? And then ask her name?
Well, chances are they probably already know who I am and what my political affiliation is. So if they like my political affiliation, yeah, they'll approach me. If they don't, the chances are that they probably won't come talk to me.
Okay. Do you think that you think that people who are of different political affiliations can't be in a relationship together?
I think that back in the day, you probably could have went that way. But in today's political climate, in the age of pure and utter tribalism, it is very hard to pull off.
Why is that?
Because if you're with one side, you stick to the people in your tribe.
what's the political climate like now that
Divisive.
you think makes it
completely divisive.
What's so divisive about it?
We can't have conversations with each other unless you agree.
What do you mean?
If you're a Republican and you're sitting across from a liberal, you can't have a conversation with this person unless you get into a screaming match towards the end, which we've shown on this show that you can have these conversations.
I would say that tends to be the theme nowadays, but there are outliers. Like, I don't know if you ever watched, I think it's Breaking Points, but the two, it's like a news show, a news podcast, and they break down like politics and current events and whatnot. And the girl, I can't remember both their names, Crystal and Sager, I think are the other names, but Crystal is a Democrat, a left-leaning Democrat, and Sager is more of a right-leaning conservative. But they're able to somehow they have their inherent biases, and it walking into the conversation that they're having, but they do a good job of not going at each other's throats and presenting their side of things, but finding also common ground in the truth, which ultimately is the most important part, whether it goes against your party or whatnot. They're actively looking for truth, and I think they are the best example as far as on our medium of people who are doing that the right way.
And I think you can do that. I think you can go that route, but you can't belong to that far right side of the party or the far left side of the party. So I think that applies to the ones who are more on the far right and the far left.
And people who are politically engaged. Obviously, you have moderates, people who really don't care or get into it that much. With life comes, distractions and things like that, and people don't have time to get into all the nitty-gritty of politics all the time. But, I think for moderates, it could probably be a little easier than someone who is, like you said, on the far right or far left.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm as policy-wise as a Republican as it gets, but I don't mind sitting across from somebody as long as you're not yelling at me the entire time. And what I've found is when dating, politics is a big role for me because I believe that ties into your morals and your principles. Being a conservative, saying that maybe I'm not the best practicing Catholic, but I want to raise my children to be Catholic. And I want to raise them to go to church. If I decide to have children, knock on wood. All right. But I think that having a political opinion, I believe that if you're right-leaning, if you're a Republican, you raise your children a certain way. If you're left-leaning, you raise your children a different way. And I think if you have that mashup between both, I think that's a very hard thing to do, is raise children with two opposite values, sides of morals. You know what I mean?
What do you think of the differences between a way a Republican raise their kids versus a liberal?
I think in today's climate, or we're speaking specifically today, in today's climate, well, we'd have to make the distinction between a moderate Republican and a moderate liberal, or moderate Democrat, and a far right Republican and a far left Democrat.
Scotty, do you consider yourself a moderate right or far right?
Moderate right.
It seems like you have these very far right views.
I'm pro-America.
I guess what we're trying to say is that, the argument that you're making is that a far left and you said just in general that a left and a right, it would be difficult, I guess is your point, to be in a relationship if you're left and right. And Carter is saying that, well, yeah, if you were far left and you were far right, that would be difficult. So I guess the question is what do you determine far right and moderate right versus moderate left, far left?
Far right, I consider QAnon believing.
What?
Far right, I consider to be the ones who believe in the QAnon conspiracy.
What? What is that?
Far right.
You know about QAnon?
No.
Oh boy.
Man.
Okay, let's stay off 4chan.
Yeah. And then the far
Good
left.
for you not knowing about QAnon. What a healthy life you must live.
What is that? I don't know what that is.
Dude, it is.
But I guess if y'all don't want to go into it, I don't know if it's bad or not.
Dude, it is what's hurting the Republican Party.
Well, look, this I'll read just based off of so you can
I don't
simply
want
understand.
anybody getting in trouble. For
No. This is Wikipedia.
We're far past that. I called them out last show.
QAnon. Let's see. It's kind of hard for people to read if I can focus in. Is an American political conspiracy theory and political movement. It originated in the American far right political sphere in 2017. QAnon centers on fabricated claims made by an anonymous individual or individuals known as Q. Those claims have been relayed, developed, and supplemented by numerous communities and influencers associated with the movement. The core of QAnon theory is that a cabal of satanic, cannibalistic sexual abusers of children operating a global sex trafficking ring conspired against former U.S. President Donald Trump during his term in office. QAnon has direct roots in Pizzagate, an internet conspiracy theory that appeared 1 year earlier. It also incorporates elements of many other theories. Some experts have described QAnon as a cult. So it's really just kind of this internet-based far-right cult that believes that the global elite have this sexual pedophile ring and they use their powers to take down Trump. That's the core of it, really. But it goes much deeper and deeper.
Well, you see, I could believe some of the stuff they were saying at first until you got to the Jewish space lasers underneath the earth.
Yeah, it gets wild.
I was on board with a lot of things they were saying until you got with the Jewish space lasers under earth. Like, dude, I got Jewish blood in me. You going to sit here and tell me my people are controlling people underneath the earth with space lasers?
I mean, they are. If you look at
it, hey, look, like I do you one better.
They
if they were, would I tell you?
I mean, I would say that I'm not about to pull a Kanye. Never mind.
I like Ye. I like Ye. I like Ye.
If you're not a part of the QAnon cult, that makes you far right. But anything that's
no, if you're a part of it, you can be. The far right would include, I don't want to include them because I don't believe they're part of my party. People would say neo-Nazis or white supremacists. And then the far left.
White nationalism.
White nationalism, yeah. The far left would be Antifa. You know who Antifa is? Mm-hmm. Be Antifa. Your Democratic Socialist, your Bernie Sanders, your Alexandria Ocasio-Cortezes, your Ilhan Omar's, the squad. That would be them who want to completely destroy capitalism and think that we could all live in one communal nation that does for everybody else, like this socialistic nation. So that's them. The far right would be Marjorie Taylor Greene. Or here's another good example.
I mean, she's probably the best example right now in politics.
Yeah. So, I mean, it would be just basically those who are completely unhinged on both sides.
I feel as though anybody that would be completely unhinged would be hard to get along with, no matter what side you're on.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I'm saying they've taken it to a new level in terms of government.
Yeah, but we're talking about, does politics play a role in relationships?
Yeah, let's get back to that.
And I don't necessarily think it does to the degree that you're explaining, but you're trying to say that, well, if they're so far, and I'm like, well, no matter what side you're on, if you're
I'm saying
far,
I'm just saying
you're going to be
general.
hard to get along with in general.
Well, no, I'm saying in general, if you identify or if you're a registered Democrat, mm-hmm. and I'm a registered Republican like I am, mm-hmm. our morals and values wouldn't align. Mm-hmm. So you can have a Democrat who's Catholic, but they wouldn't necessarily believe in traditional marriage or...
What does Catholicism have to do anything with politics?
Because politics, your political beliefs tie into your morals. Republicans tend to be more Christian-leaning than Democrats.
Then what are Democrats?
Democrats are more along the lines of breaking... They're more Episcopalian in a sense. You know what I mean? Like the difference between Catholicism and Episcopalianism. Episcopalianism is the liberal version of Catholicism in a sense. I don't know if you understand those type of religious talking points right there.
Well, as someone who grew up Catholic, went to 14 years of Catholic school and whatnot, there are a lot of people on the left who are still practicing Catholics, and a lot has to do with like social justice and but that's kind of what churches are for. Don't need government to really get involved in a lot of those programs and issues and whatnot. But there are a lot of Democrats who would be in the Catholic Church. But from now, this is maybe a bad example because Scotty is politically ambiguous with conservative leanings. But because he said that he's pro-choice, right? But so if
did he? I didn't hear that.
Yeah, he is.
But I don't agree that my tax dollars should fund Planned Parenthood.
Okay, so there's a difference. But so let's say someone who is like a hardcore Republican, a conservative, they're more likely to be pro-life, whereas someone who is a hardcore Democrat is more likely to be pro-choice. Those are the types of political and social issues that, when it comes down to a relationship, might be a make or break when trying to create a healthy, long-sustaining relationship.
Like, for example, you see a lot on the Democratic side. Let's go back to the gender pronoun thing. They're more open to the idea of letting children express themselves, to being able to identify something other than male or female. If you're on my side, that is completely absurd bullshit, and that's not going to happen with my kid.
I feel as though that's only with like the far left.
No.
Because in my mind, like moderate left would be someone who is moderate, who's like understanding of like, hey, like I understand a bit of the Republican argument, but I still tend to lean towards this political bias. But whenever you start getting into like you said, like fabricating genders and stuff like that, it's like you're going way further.
Well, that's the whole thing. Like a lot of people, like the fringes, like far right and the far left, are pushing more and more people to kind of what is, I guess, a moderate because of these issues dominating like the culture of the party, the Republican Party and the Democrat Party. You know, you have like lifelong Democrats like Tulsi Gabbard who just left the party because of the lunacy that it is on the far left, and you see that on the far right as well. Like people trying to push away from all the QAnon and racist shit and all that.
Except we're not having to leave the party to get away from the lunacy.
I did.
You became libertarian?
Yeah, card carrying, baby.
Yeah. Now you see,
Well, yeah, but that's still far. That's why I'm asking you to define where the line is drawn, where what is considered far and what's not.
well, I wouldn't consider being far right pushing back on the gender thing.
I guess what you're getting at is raising kids, that it's not effective.
Yes, and moral beliefs.
Far right or left leaning bias. But I feel as though anybody that has a far right or far left leaning bias, they're probably not going to be one to be in a long-term relationship in the beginning, because you have to be understanding to some point to have any kind of interaction with another human being. But the people that are on the farther ends tend not to have that, understanding. That's why they're far.
If you found out that your kid was being taught at their school that there's more than two genders, and they were being taught how to use each and every pronoun differently, would you accept that as a parent, that they're being taught that?
I mean, am I going to uproot my entire house and move somewhere else to go to a different school? No, not over something like that. I would just wait till they come home and then just to tell them like, oh, here's why they're saying that. Here's what the case is, and then if you grow up and you still believe that, then that's on you. But, if you live in my house and I'm taking care of you and I'm responsible for you, you're going to think how I want you to think. And then when you grow up, you can choose to think how you want.
And that would 100% be acceptable, but what if they're getting in trouble for it at school by doing what you're telling them to do?
Then I would teach them not to. I mean, that's the point.
But they're getting in trouble at school.
I mean, like I said, it's like they're gonna do as I say. If I'm their parent, if I'm responsible for them, it's like, well, if I have to reap the repercussions of whatever decisions you make as my child, then you're gonna do whatever I ask you. And then it's like, once I'm no longer responsible for you, then you can make whatever choice you want. So if they're in school and they're acting up because of the fact that, oh, my dad said at home that, this and that about genders and I blah blah blah, and they're getting in trouble for that, then I'm gonna be like, you need to shut up.
Well, what if your wife disagrees?
What do you mean, disagree with what?
Disagrees with your method and what you're telling them.
If she disagrees?
If she disagrees with what you're teaching your kid when he comes back from school.
I mean, what would she disagree on?
But I'm saying, what if she disagreed with your method of parenting him?
I guess that would be a bridge that we would have to cross then, because the idea is that by that point, we would have already established how we would like our kids to be raised.
Bingo.
I mean, but that's not the question you originally asked, which is, what if the kid is getting in trouble for school for having all these thoughts and beliefs? Then I would basically make them fall in line so that way they can understand the difference first. You need to know that 1 + 1 = 2 in order to understand that 1 + 1 + 1 = 3. It's like,
no.
You kind of have to have a foundation.
Too far into it.
No, I'm really not. You have to have some kind of foundation before you can express upon it.
Bingo.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that, like, I don't, like, you're asking me.
Yes.
This is my opinion. Mm-hmm. Follow me, Scotty. My
you
opinion.
Following me?
Yeah, because you asked me a question, so I heard the question and I'm answering it. So the idea is that if my kid is at school and they're being taught all of this, stuff that I don't believe, then the idea is, what am I going to do about it? I would say I'm not going to it's like, you either have to put them in another school and go through the headache of doing that. You have to then move to a whole different location just so that way you're not putting them in a specific school. 3, you can, like you said, kind of choose to put them in a specific school, but then there's the headache and cost and all that has to go along with that, right? And then on top of all that, it's like in my mind, I feel as though it would be way easier to just make sure that I implement my thoughts and views on the child and help it understand, look, here's what we believe, here's what we think, You know, whatever they tell you at school, I mean, just do and say whatever they say until you can basically leave. You know, I mean, that's how I guess you could say my parents raised me, you know, make good enough grades so you can graduate. And it's like what you do after that point is up to you. You know, my mom was always the kind of person that was like, you you listen to me unless you pay bills in the house, you know. And so I would want to walk around the house without my shirt on, you know. And then she's like, you know, until you can pay a bill, you you do as I say, right? And so one day we had paid a bill. I had, help, toss in, I don't know, like $20 or something for some bill or whatever. And then I was like, hey, Mama, you know how you told me I could do whatever I want whenever I pay a bill? And I strip butt naked.
We see that, but that's different, though, because the question was, we started off with, does your political beliefs tie into who you choose to date as a partner?
Yeah, but you're sitting here saying that anyone that's on the far left and far right.
That's not what I said, though. I said, though, whenever you brought up the point, you tell your kid, this is the right way. This is how we believe in this house. And you said that you established there's a bridge you might have to cross if you and your wife disagreed on. But the idea is, I'm going to use your word, the idea is that y'all already talked about this and discussed that bridge. So you didn't have to cross it whenever it came up. So therefore, y'all already decided that y'all had a set of principles and morals and values that aligned in order to teach that child before you had it.
Yeah, and if they go to a school and they teach something different than what that is, then all I would do is just be like, fall in line and deal with it long enough until you're responsible for yourself, and then you can make decisions for yourself on whether that's right or wrong.
That's where we differ, though, because I wouldn't teach my kid to fall in line. I'd teach my kid to challenge every single aspect of what they was being taught.
No, because then all you do is you wind up with a kid that's in prison. Yes, because that's literally what they don't care for a system. They do whatever they want, and they wind up being disciplined to the point where they're socially unaccepted. It's like, do you want your child to live in a society in which it is socially unaccepted?
That's when they go to a private school.
No, they would still be socially unaccepted.
No,
because
private schools wouldn't teach that, though.
But it doesn't matter. The idea is that you're raising a child that just challenges the status quo for no reason. It's like, no, it has to have a foundation of what things are, first, and then they can expand upon them from there. It's like, first you crawl, then you learn how to walk, and then you run. It's like,
luckily I have the solution for you. One has to
come before the other.
Luckily, I have the solution for you.
What's that?
You'd establish what is taught in said school district. You and your wife would talk about it. Mm-hmm. If you found out that they were teaching these young children that you can identify as anything you want to, then you wouldn't put your kid in that school.
It depends on how difficult it is to get them into another.
School's a choice.
I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying. If it's more difficult for me to, like, if I had to drive, like, if this was the only one that was within range of the house I can put them on a bus, it's like, okay, well, this would be the simplest option. It just so happens that they teach something in the school I don't agree with. It's like, well, how difficult is it for me to do it the other ways? Do I want to drop my kid off at school every other day? And this is a completely independent, question that you can ask to anyone. They're going to be the ones that determine what is difficult and what isn't to them. And in my opinion, it's like, well, is this making my life, is this challenging me in a way that's helping me further myself or my family? Or is it just a complicated decision? It's like, well, I don't want to have unnecessary complications in my life. And I would say that if I have to drive to a different school just to avoid some kind of small political view, I wouldn't do it. I don't think it's worth it, in my opinion. I think that that's a bit far right, if you ask me.
No, I think that's perfectly logical.
I don't think so.
Because the way I view it is while you're teaching that kid about 72 different genders, you could be focusing on math or science or social studies, things that actually matter.
As far as I'm concerned, I think that school is really just a facility that you just have to learn social skills, and that's how I see it. I feel as I see the public utility in teaching kids how to socialize. That's how I view it.
Traditionally, I would agree. If schools like St. Thomas More weren't having to put out statements saying, if you want your kid to learn about 72 different genders, don't send them here. Now, the fact that schools are having to send out these memos and these letters to parents to warn them they're not going to learn about this shit is where we've hit the fan. That's where we've landed in this society right here. That's where we've landed. And I think that is utterly bullshit and a problem.
Wait, what is the statement that they're releasing?
They released that if you want your children to learn about 72 different genders or that traditional marriage is bad or unacceptable, don't send them to St. Thomas More. And I loved it. I love that.
I mean, yeah, Scotty, if you just want to advocate for St. Thomas More, I mean, sponsor Scotty here, St. Thomas More. I don't know
They
if
might
that
now.
works.
They might.
I mean,
Because my mama's gonna hate. My mama's gonna hate this. She is going to hate this. But I'm telling you right now, if I ever found out that any public school around here was teaching that, my kids are going to St. Thomas More.
Like I said, if you just want to advocate for it, then more power to you, Scotty. I don't think you should be, representing a school while you're drinking.
I didn't go there.
I
didn't go there.
Something tells me that there's also opinions of Scotty that they would not align with.
Oh, there might be. But I mean, hell, it's all reality.
They're probably gonna research Scotty. They're just gonna be like, yeah, he's not coming to our school or his kids. Because they're gonna just show up and beat everybody up because they haven't been. They were taught to challenge the status quo, so they think it's prison rules. They show up at school and just put the biggest kid in there in a headlock. And Scotty just like, yeah, that's what you do.
Be like one of those South Park dads in the stands. Let's get it on.
Like Randy.
Yeah, just fighting other parents at the school.
Well, aside from Scotty's theoretical children going to STM, knock on wood there, Scotty. I know you want to.
Yeah, it's clear you want to.
As much as he's knocked on that table for not having kids, like there might be a hole there soon. He's done some work on that table. But so I found this site. It's called wholereason.com, and it's got 6 big topics where explaining the far left's take and the far right's take on it. So I'll just go by individually for those 6 and then kind of get y'all's take and see if there can be
some kind of middle ground or a relationship established.
Yeah. So the first one is abortion. The far left, they want unrestricted abortion and required abortion for certain defects. And the far right says abortion illegal under any circumstances, prosecution of doctors and patients for murder.
No.
What do you think on that, Scotty?
Absolutely not.
What do you not? What?
I don't agree with either one.
Either one. Okay, thank you, Jesus Christ, Scotty. Oh my goodness, that is ridiculous. Okay,
that's
I get
ridiculous.
it now. That is okay.
Right.
That is very.
Both of them are
extreme.
extremely ridiculous.
For example, I'll read just for this particular example. I'll read what the middle left and middle right say about it, which I think will probably fall more in line with the average person.
Yeah.
The middle left says abortion is illegal in second to third trimester, allowed under certain circumstances: mother's life, severe congenital defects, rape, incest. The middle right, abortion illegal after 4 to 6 weeks, allowed under certain rare circumstances: mother's life, severe congenital defects.
I agree with that 100%.
So the middle right answer?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it seems like the middle left and middle right on this example, that you could come to some sort of healthy agreement on that as a couple, where you can have a sustained relationship off of that. The first two, if you have either one of those,
you just put any one of those. If you just take that opinion and put that as a person and put it in a room, they would isolate that person.
Dude, like that. That's raw. That's raw, man.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel as though, like, if anyone has that extreme view, it's like you're just hard to get along with. You're not getting in a relationship. People don't like you. That's all there is to it. And you're just challenging the status quo at that point because you're not getting brownie points with anyone else.
No.
So the second one is sex ed. Far left, teach only contraception. Abstinence is an inhuman religious concept that has no place in schools. Encourage sexual exploration, both homo and hetero. Far right, teach only abstinence. Birth control is contrary to what is right and is immoral and encourages promiscuity. Homosexuality is unnatural and immoral.
Oh, Scotty, you're a conservative man. What do you think?
Let's hear the middle right.
No!
The middle right says that abstinence is a realistic and laudable goal for young people. We should encourage it as a virtue worth pursuing, but should also teach about contraception as a fallback. Homosexuality should be acknowledged as a sexual orientation, but it should be mentioned that many consider it unnatural, and it may be a reversible condition.
Which one was that?
That was middle right.
Okay, what's the middle left?
Middle left is abstinence is a nice concept, and we should mention it, but it's not realistic. We should focus on contraception and leave value judgments about sexuality to the family. We should acknowledge that sexual exploration occurs. Choosing a homosexual orientation is normal for some people, and we should teach it.
Middle right.
Dang.
I do not agree with teaching it.
But do you think that with those middle left and middle right,
Do you think that those people could get along?
I think that would be a tough topic to like discuss. I think it would be a tough topic to discuss on whether or not to teach it or not teach it.
I think the biggest thing is the whole abstinence thing. Like, the middle left says abstinence is a nice concept and we should mention it, but it's not realistic. Middle right says abstinence is a realistic and laudable goal for young people.
It is.
I mean,
and remember, this is under the topic of sex education, whether that is in school or in the home. I think that sex ed can fall into both because honestly, I think it should be up to the parents to teach.
But the question is whether or not if these two people come into a relationship, would it last? I actually don't think so. I actually think that those people would not get along. I don't know, though. I don't know.
I think that would be a tough topic because, on one hand, you could look at it, if you have a daughter and you're a man, how would you feel about the wife coming up to you saying, I'm starting her on birth control? I believe it's fine that she can go have sex if she wants to.
I would say that it would be okay because for most females, it actually regulates their time of the month. Mm-hmm. So it's actually reasonable, especially if it's free. Yeah. Because, I mean, most is. So, I mean, I don't know how that works around the world, but I would say typically that is the case. So I think that's fine. I mean, if my wife came to me and was just like, yeah, I'm putting my daughter on birth control, it's like, well, as the mom, she has a better understanding of that sort of thing. Yeah. And I think that it's always better to be safe than sorry. One says that abstinence is a nice view, but it's not realistic. And the other one says that contraception should be focused on. And
No, that abstinence is a realistic.
Yeah, it's a realistic thing.
Goal. It's and laudable. Like we should actively be teaching that.
Yeah, I don't think that those people will get along because one thinks that it's an actual concept and one is like, that's not even real. Mm-hmm. It's like if I'm sitting here saying that this table isn't real and you're sitting here saying that it is, I don't think we can get along. Yeah. If we can argue over the color of it, but I don't think we can argue whether or not something is real.
All right, Scotty's favorite topic, homosexuality. Far left. Homosexuality is a valid sexual alternative, is totally natural and healthy, and isn't always equal to heterosexual attraction and unions. It should be acknowledged by society as valid and should have all of the civil rights accorded to hetero unions, especially legal marriage. Homosexuality is biologically determined. The far right. Here we go. Homosexuality is not only unnatural, it is immoral and a sin. It is dangerous to society and should be criminalized with anti-sodomy laws. I should not have to hire or rent to anyone who I think is immoral, including gays. Homosexuality is a perversion equal to that of pedophilia and bestiality. Homosexuality is a choice. So before I get to the more reasonable takes, what do you?
That's mean, man.
And that's the whole thing about like these. It sucks it being someone who is. I mean, I'm a libertarian, and so like. But more, I guess, conservative, a little bit more right-leaning libertarian. But like when people put people like me or like you, Scotty, like in this box of, oh, he's far right. And then you're reading these things, you're like, God damn.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's probably a smaller pool of examples of the far left or right than there is of the moderate. I think what happened over time that it's like, it used to be like, like this is a center, this is the moderate, and this is the far. And it's like they kind of like had equal proportions. But now it's like moderate, far.
Yeah.
So middle left says gay marriage should not be elevated to the same status as hetero marriage, but they should have all the human rights that others have. Civil unions seem to be a perfectly reasonable solution. Homosexuality is mostly determined by biology, but may have sociological factors and therefore is not immoral. See, that's kind of surprising to me because I would have thought that they would have said like, no, like marriage, even like the middle left would say marriage, you got to do marriage. But they're saying like, nah, the unions are enough.
What was that first thing that you said on the moderate left? What was the first thing?
Gay marriage should not be elevated to the same status as hetero marriage, but they should have all the human rights that others have.
What does that mean?
As in,
can't be elevated to the same status?
I don't know. I think that this might have come out in 2010 or 12, but which would have been before the Supreme Court allowed for gay marriage.
Yeah, that was in 2015.
Right.
So are they saying that like it shouldn't be actual like legal?
No, they're saying like civil unions are fine, but like to be married.
They were against it.
I guess so, yeah.
Even Obama voted against it.
That was Obama's take before he was president.
Yeah.
Oh. Huh. What is the issue with them being married?
Well, there's the whole definition of like what is exactly marriage. You know, people, religious folk tend to think that marriage comes from, you know, the idea of marriage is procreative and unitive, and that's what marriage is. And anything other than that is not a marriage. Call it something else. Call it a civil union. Call it something else. But marriage in the right.
Oh, so for like legal like terminology,
right,
it shouldn't be.
Yeah, and what the middle left is saying is that, well, they should still be able to get all the same rights legally that a married couple would be.
I got you.
But not call it a marriage per se.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, all right, that makes sense. Because for a second there, I was like, what? Elevated the same status? It sounds bad, honestly.
Right, and remember, this is from before the Supreme Court legalized gay marriage.
Yeah.
But they still had like civil unions and things like that.
Yeah. So that makes a lot of sense. But what's the right one?
Homosexuality should neither be condoned through legal marriage nor criminalized via sodomy laws. Gays should have the same protections under the law regarding housing and employment, but legal marriage should be defined as being between a man and a woman. Homosexuality is mostly determined by sociological and developmental factors, and may be caused in small part by genetic factors. However, regardless of its origins, it is immoral, just like promiscuity and adultery.
Agree.
I feel like on that moderate right, it's really just like the liberals just like, yeah, here's what we think, and the right is just like, well, we don't think that.
but at least the middle right's like, look, we don't like it, but equal representation, whatever, equal rights and all that.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, I don't think those people would disagree. I don't think that would affect the relationship at all.
Back in 2012,
right? Yeah, kind of putting it into the context of 2012. Yeah. I would say they would be more likely to.
They would be more likely to wind up.
Because
nowadays, that'd be
because that would either be a gay couple or a straight couple having that conversation. If you're a straight couple, it's like, well, we're not gay. So
well, I really like how this website has it like kind of laid out, but I wish I could find like a more modern version of it because and that's what Scotty was talking about earlier with the divisiveness. Like people have really gone off the rails onto the far left and far right, and so I don't know how much of this is congruent to today, but it gives you a good idea of kind of where we can start the conversation.
Yeah. I think that those people would be able to get along because the idea is that they're both like, I mean, it's all right, but we may differ a little. It's like they're not doing the difference of this isn't real, and the other one's like, yeah, well, it is real. Like they're not doing that.
And I like how the middle right was like, look, some of it may be part of genetical factors, but for the most part, like it's your upbringing. It's more nurture rather than nature.
Yeah, I like
that's why you're gay.
They have to first establish we don't think what those guys think.
Look, like every now and then, a real flamboyant fellow comes out and we're like, okay, that's probably a gay guy.
Yeah,
but for the most part, they're just straights who are groomed or whatever. That's. Once again, these are not my thoughts. I'm just
interpreting. Don't shoot the messenger, guys.
Yeah, don't shoot the messenger. Exactly. That should be like the motto of Acadiana Cast, really.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you get attacked because Scotty said something.
Acadiana Cast. Don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah, shoot Scotty, not me.
Yeah,
come at him. He'll have
Please don't. As much as I disagree with him, he's a good guy.
He'll have UnWoKeN AKs for you really soon. Dude, wouldn't that be an ultimate demise if you got gunned down by your own AK?
Gun? Oh god.
The UnWoKeN AK just took you out.
I mean, I think
poetic justice,
horrible.
maybe.
Yeah. The UnWoKeN AR, not the AK.
Oh, sorry, AR.
Let's hope that doesn't come ever. I hope you don't get shot at all, Scotty. If that helps.
Yes, I would not like that as well.
Yeah, because you pay his
better bills. Fucking shoot to kill.
Scotty's got my numbies.
You better shoot to kill, son. That's all I'm saying.
All right, so moving on to separation of church and state.
Please don't.
Well, I guess kind of wrap up with that kind of definition. I think the middle right and middle left could work that out.
Yeah, and he's saying that they can't.
No, I was saying back in 2012. Yeah.
No. We're saying the original topic of the video is people who are left leaning or people who are liberal versus people or conservative, that they would not be able to establish a relationship, and your issue is basically raising kids. And it's like, I think that they could make it. They could establish an actual long-term relationship. You just might have more complications than someone who's not. Who thinks more like you.
Yeah, separation of church and state. Far left, religion has no place in the public policy arena nor in civic life. We should avoid all entanglement between government and religion. The Establishment Clause means protection of religion from government and protection of government from religion. Got to protect that government. Left loves that. Government should be entirely secular and based on secular ethics. The far right, America is a Christian nation, founded on Christian principles by Christians, Judeo-Christian, one would argue. We should not only acknowledge this heritage, but fulfill our divine destiny as God's chosen nation in this era. The Establishment Clause is only meant to protect religion from government. Both religious and ethical principles should be law. In fact, we should reinstitute Old Testament punishments for such things as adultery and homosexuality.
Oh my God.
The term separation of church and state is not found in the Constitution, which is true.
Wait, what's not found in the Constitution?
The term separation of church and state.
Oh, it's not. Okay.
No.
You had me until the last part.
Yeah, like stoning someone for cheating on their wife.
Yeah, bro. Like oh my dude, have y'all actually read what they did?
Oh yeah,
that stuff was horrible. And I'm like, dude, like y'all advocate for this? What is this?
You didn't see
Leviticus is wild.
Leviticus 18:52. Yeah.
So okay, well, before we get to the middle left and middle right, obviously I think the consensus is no.
Oh yeah, I mean those people wouldn't get along.
You had me until bring back the Old Testament punishment.
We're all sinners here.
I mean, it just goes to show you how far like the fringes have become nowadays.
Yeah, like you have to understand, like this used to be acceptable.
Dude, have you ever seen the old torture methods that they used? Oh my God, dude.
Yeah, but this is what I mean by whenever you sit here and you're like, call yourself a conservative and things just need to go back to the way things were. Is that what you mean?
No, I've clarified that.
That is conservative.
No. We're establishing the difference between the conservative today and the far right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even call the far right conservative.
I wouldn't either. I don't associate them with the party.
No. All right. So what's the moderate?
All right. So middle left says the state should be secular and free from sponsoring religion, but it is okay if religious values are in the marketplace of ideas. Faith is a good thing, but it must be kept mostly in the private, personal realm and out of politics. I have no problem teaching and acknowledging the religious history of our country, both good and bad. The middle right. The Establishment Clause and the term separation of church and state, when rightly understood, means that the government cannot sponsor or promote a single religion, nor can it prevent the free exercise of any religion. However, it does not mean that religious values and appeals to the Creator are improper in public life. In fact, our nation was founded with a respect for the Christian faith. The Christian scriptures contain wisdom for political life and legislation, and we should use them as a guide. However, we are not supposed to legislate religious rules, like what people should wear, nor are we called to reinstitute biblical punishments.
I actually realized I actually agree with both of those statements. Maybe I'm just more center, but
yeah, what's middle
like
right?
Both of them.
That was middle right.
That was both of them. Yeah, like they were both reasonable. The far ones were like, whoa, and the middle ones, both of them are just like, I mean, both of them are reasonable. Like, I don't actually disagree with them, even in the slightest.
Yeah, it seems like the middle left and middle right, like the biggest difference between those is just like an interpretation of like the Constitution.
Yeah. So I feel as though those people would not, literally, that would not even be an issue.
No, that should be like just the definition of politics. Like,
yeah.
Hey, I think the founding fathers meant this. Oh, I think the founding fathers meant this. Let's duke it out in debate.
Yeah, that's basically yeah. I think that those people would be able to get along because it's like they can oppose each other, and that's the beauty and the whole concept of church and state. It's like we can have this conversation, and that's perfectly fine. So I think that those people would be able to get along. Right,
and you're seeing that come to fruition, like in let's see right now what's relevant the World Cup in Qatar, with a lot of their rules are from the Islamic religious extremist perspective with the killing of gays and whatnot, and that's reflected like in how the country operates. Meanwhile, the U.S. does not have such a policy. There is that separation, and so I think that people could come to a reasonable agreement or understanding.
Yeah, and this little saga of ours goes back to the original conversation that we had, whenever you were kind of like you were saying that like you were a conservative man and all this other stuff, and I was sitting here saying that you said that things, you know, things are moving in the wrong direction. And I was saying that things are moving and it'd be impossible for them to go back to the way things were, because that's what you were saying that you were hoping for. I want things to be like they used to be. And I'm like, well, why don't you define that?
I should have clarified that.
Yeah,
I wish that things would go back to 1988 with Ronald Reagan and George Bush.
No, guess what's going to happen, Scotty? Because 50 years from now, you're going to be like, oh, let's go back to the way things were back in 2020.
Ah, bullshit. Like I'm going to say anything with the 2010s.
I'm telling you, man, because that's what happened. Like, this is all of those views that he just listed were all views that were actually acceptable back then.
Mainstream.
But now we look at that and we're like, oh, my God.
No, I would not say that at any point in our lifetime was stoning people acceptable.
Oh, yeah,
What are you talking about? What do you think that book was written in?
During our time.
No, not during our time. I'm saying back then.
In history.
Back then, whenever they were originally like making the book.
Okay, I'm not going to say I'm sorry. Let's go back to 1988. Ronald Reagan is the president of the United States.
No, because guess what? Back with 1988, do you think we had all the nice fancy tech that we have now? It's like the further you go back, like ask yourself, Scotty, right? Which would you rather be, right? What was his name? What was the guy that owned all the railroads back in the day?
Carnegie or Rockefeller?
Rockefeller. Would you rather be Rockefeller back in his time, or would you be a modern man today? Like a middle finance-wise, middle-class man today. It's like I would choose to be a middle-class man today.
Well, I don't know. That's a tough one, man.
No, it's actually not, because if you think about it, Rockefeller died from like something that could have been solved with antibiotics.
How old did he die at?
I don't remember. But the idea is that, like, you know, it's like had he been today, we have antibiotics. Like, people used to die from diarrhea back in the day. And it's like we just go to the doctor for it now. Like, we could just go get something from the store. It's like things are better now. So things physically can't go back to the way things were. You know, so it's like as much as you'd like to think that, you know, I'm a conservative man, I want things to be like they used to.
Again, I don't talk like that.
I'm sorry, I just have to, you know, characterize you. But that's what you sound like in my head. But that's what I was trying to make. You don't want to know what you sound like in my head. I mean, I hate to bring up old grudges, but that's what I was trying to say then. But now we're going to get back to the topic of relationship.
Yeah, we got number 6.
Rockefeller died of arteriosclerosis in 1937, less than 2 months shy of his 98th birthday.
Jesus Christ. So he lived a full life.
You want to rephrase that question?
No, it still serves my point, because what he died with could have been solved with antibiotics.
At 98?
I mean, still.
Take me out at 98.
If you get it now, you would be fine.
I think I'm good at 90, man.
Yeah, bro, yeah. Unless like just quality of life, it just becomes that much better at that age. Like I no, thank you.
Yeah, and then you also didn't have cars. They had to you know.
In 1937?
No, wait, is that whenever he was?
Yeah.
1930. That's when he died. I'm
yeah.
saying like he probably lived during the age that cars are being developed, but they weren't as readily available as they are today.
Cars were developed in 1800s.
No, it was his son that died of something that was antibiotics. I'm sorry. What does his son pass away from? I think that's what I was thinking of.
That's going to take me a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's not even important.
Let's go to number 6.
But the point is that things are better now, right, than they were back then.
Actually, this is number 5.
Oh, number 5?
Also, before we go on, which I guess kind of has to do with our next topic, your boy Reagan is the whole reason that we have cartels pushing fentanyl and all kind of crazy-ass drugs because of his war on drugs. So, suck it, nerd.
One bad thing. One bad thing in 8 years.
Trickle-down economics, baby.
That's right. That's right.
That's what Scotty's all about.
All day.
Don't say no?
I say no.
Oh, okay. Scotty says no. All right, off the immigration. The far left. This is a nation of immigrants. We should consider them as humans first and not play politics with people's lives. Border security is an impossibility. We should grant them all amnesty. The far right. Anyone who is here illegally should be treated as a criminal and deported. Any type of program that allows them to stay, even with conditions, is de facto amnesty. We need to secure our borders with a wall and armaments and protect our people first.
I think during
Scotty.
this
Scotty.
I feel as though
I like what I'm hearing.
I think I'm realizing that I'm actually a more liberal because I'm agreeing with the liberal on this one, and I'm like, that's actually kind of true. So I'm just like, it's hard for
So
me.
you don't believe in border security at all?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's taking up tax dollars, Scotty. So we have to pay those people. And so what exactly are they doing? They're just stopping people from coming in here. But the idea is that this is a nation founded on immigrants. It's not that far from the truth. I mean, really, no matter how you shake it, that's the truth.
Bro.
Then let's send them all to all the sanctuary cities and let them handle
I'm just
it.
saying, why do we sit here and like, it's like, now that I'm here, this is my place. But like, it's like, Scotty, how would you feel if I went into your car, grabbed you, pulled you out of it, and threw you in the trunk? And I'm just like, yeah, this is my car now. I founded it, and you're still in the trunk.
You just described perfectly what they're doing whenever they cross the border.
Yeah.
What? What? No, I'm saying that's what we did as a nation. We showed up and we're just like, yeah, this is our place now.
We conquered.
And then we basically we're trying to put up walls around it, like nobody can take our stuff. And I'm just like, but the only reason y'all are here in the first place is because y'all took it by force. Like
We conquered the land.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you would not agree with me coming in,
First,
pulling
England,
you out of
you
your
know what?
car.
You know what's a
England
good-
took it by force.
You know what's a good way to counter that?
What's that?
We defend what we conquered then.
Oh my God, Scotty, how would you feel if I yanked you out of your car and put you in the trunk and said, "This is my
First
car
of all,
now"?
you wouldn't do that.
But if I did, how would you feel?
You wouldn't get to that point.
How would you feel if it did?
That'd be like you coming into my car.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I came in your
So
car,
you're coming
yanked
but
you out of it.
You're coming into my car.
Yeah, and I yank you out of it and put you in the trunk.
But don't
and
I
say,
have a right to shoot you if you try to take me out of my car?
let's say you didn't. Let's say I got away with it and I put you in the trunk.
Isn't that what they're doing whenever they cross
That's
illegally?
what we did as a nation, Scott.
So why are we talking? We wouldn't be here if we didn't
That's
conquer
what I'm
anything.
saying. Like I feel as though that left.
That's two different points.
I'm gonna take your.
But
car.
the analogy you're making is describing an illegal immigrant crossing the border.
In my mind, they're saying there that this nation was founded on immigrants, and I'm like, it's actually not that far from the truth.
Yes, but listen to the rest of it.
Well, do you want me to reread?
Yeah, and then it just said no border security, and I'm like, I mean, what exactly? All they're doing is just keeping people out. It's
Exactly.
Like, yeah, like it's like, but no one stopped them from coming here in the first place.
So let me read the middle left and the middle right.
I don't know, man. I'm like, maybe I'm more liberal than I thought.
Get this, Scotty.
I thought I was center. I was like,
you're
dang.
gonna love this middle left belief for immigration. It says the middle left: let them stay and earn citizenship first, and in the meantime, build a wall.
Yeah, this is
They're
definitely
moving to the right.
Who built the cages? Who built the cages, Scotty?
President Obama built the cages. You know, President Obama deported more people than President Trump did.
I actually did not know that,
Yes.
but I don't pay attention to politics.
And then the middle right says ensure border security first, and then let them earn citizenship.
Come here legally, we won't have a problem.
Dang. I mean, I feel as though those people would get along, but I'm learning something about myself.
Man, I don't know about that.
Well, I mean, they're both saying have a wall. What's wrong with that?
Well,
where do they disagree?
Well, here's
Well, you disagreed with-
Here's like I guess like the issue of just complete open borders. Like whenever you let so many different people in, obviously you're gonna have some bad eggs in there, some bad hombres, as former President Trump said.
Yeah.
But also like if they're undocumented, like do you believe there should be like a service that like helps them get indoctrinated? But what if they don't want to do that and they're just undocumented and taking away like opportunities and getting free off taxes and all that shit and just sucking off the system's teat, for lack of a better term?
I mean, I don't think anybody would agree with that. I mean, maybe I'm wrong on that, but I think the issue is more or less whether those people would be able to get along. And I think that they would get along better than everybody else in that category because they're both just like, yeah, we need that wall. Everybody is in agreement.
Yeah, everyone else is like, wall.
Yeah, wall. You said wall. Thank you. That's all I needed, and that's just it. And like those people would get along. I think those people would marry each other when they met. They'd just be like, "So, what do you think about immigration?" They're like, "I need a wall," and they're just like, "Oh my god."
Well, Scotty, here's your opportunity to sit on your soapbox. I know immigration's probably big on on when it comes to the Republican Party and what you stand for.
Yeah.
So, I mean, are you more far right or middle right?
I'd say I'm definitely.
Let me do it one more time. Far
Yeah.
right. Anyone who is here illegally should be treated as a criminal and deported. Any type of program that allows them to stay, even with conditions, is de facto amnesty. We need to secure our borders with a wall and armaments and protect our people first. Middle right is ensure border security first and then let them earn citizenship.
Well,
Doesn't really get into like they are criminals and they should be treated as such.
The first one describes people who are here illegally. Mm-hmm. The second one, the middle part.
No, he's saying that all of them that come here are illegal.
No, I don't.
No.
That's
It's not saying that.
Anyone who is here illegally.
Illegally.
Oh, reread the question?
Anyone who is here illegally
okay, fair
should be treated as a criminal and deported.
Okay, I thought you meant like anybody that
I mean,
comes here.
I'd agree 100% to that because that is a crime.
apologize.
You are breaking the law. And the problem that we have now with the immigration system is whenever they come in illegally, we capture them, we release them out into the public and expect them to show up at a certain court date.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's showing up to that.
I mean, are we talking about? Or are we just talking about immigration now? Or are we
No.
talking
That,
about
I mean,
relationships?
it's a big thing. That is a big thing.
I don't
though.
think anybody. I doubt there is a couple out there that has talked about immigration and has broken up over that subject. That's like saying, "What do you want for supper on Tuesday?" And they're like, "I want mac and cheese. I want chicken tenders," and they're just like,
No, I'd say that's
No,
two
and
different
just
things.
break up.
I'd say
Like,
that's very different
That's
things.
that in my mind. I'm like, out of everything we've just listed, that is like the most minor thing that they have listed. And if anything,
I think
they agree in literally.
I think that-
in the
I
poll.
bet there's people in Arizona and South Texas who would probably disagree with that.
Yeah.
Probably
disagree with what?
that it's such a menial issue.
Oh, fair enough. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, that's why.
But I
That's
was
why you
saying,
had.
out
That's
of
why you had a
all the
Republican.
rest of them.
That's why you had a Republican flip that seat in San Antonio. First time in history.
I was just saying, like, out of everything in that list they've listed so far, that is probably like the most low key.
And it would go back to
But then
the
again,
time
yeah,
it was
you're right,
written.
like,
You know, it would go back
people-
to that 2012 era. Because I can
build a
guarantee
wall.
you ain't gonna find you're not gonna find a Democrat now that agrees with build a wall.
Yeah.
But both of those characters, they're both like.
I'd
build
say
a
back
wall.
then, yeah.
Well, they won't publicly say it. It's bad politically, but
Bad politically,
but
but
in
yeah.
practice they probably do.
One thing about it nowadays, they just want the vote, so they'll allow anybody in that gives them any kind of option.
There's probably some of that as well. Also, your boy Clay Higgins just wiped the floor and won without like any sort of push. And now I know he's gunning for like the immigration or border control chair of whatever committee that is.
Mm-hmm. And he's gonna get it too.
You think he's gonna get it?
Oh yeah.
We'll see.
Was that it?
Yeah. The last one is the death penalty. The far left, inhuman, should not be done ever. In fact, I'm a pacifist. Taking a human life is always wrong. The far right, kill them as soon as you can. In fact, we should expand the death penalty to include rapists and child molesters. Now, the middle left says, death penalty is not really a good idea since we could kill innocent people. Life without parole is enough. In some rare and obvious cases, it may be okay. Admitted serial killers in parentheses. And then the middle right, death penalty is a just punishment for those who have killed. We acknowledge and accept a small error rate made much smaller now by DNA testing. Life without parole is not acceptable and is too lenient for murderers.
That's a bit extreme.
I say you kill child molesters and rapists too.
I feel as though like both the middle, that was the far and the right.
That was the far left, the far right, the middle left, and the middle right.
Yeah, even the far, even the middle left and the middle right, there's still like a wide
dude,
gap.
I just want to go on record and say that I believe in capital punishment for child molesters and rapists, and capital punishment being cutting off their genitalia with a butter knife.
Jesus Christ, what's that called? What they call that? Castration?
Yeah. So here's my take. Yeah, I disagree with all forms of state violence. I honestly think it's for a child molester, for example. I think it's better to put them in a prison and then let the prison do its thing. I don't believe in state-sponsored death. I think it's a bad route, and I think we should get rid of death penalty all across the board. I get a lot of pushback on that, but that's just where I am. I think killing is wrong in all forms and fashions. And like I said, I think it's a worse punishment to be sent.
I think I really
Frickin'
no,
cuck.
but honestly, I do agree that them staying in prison is a far worse punishment. But then we have to ask ourselves, how secure? I mean, if you're gonna do that, you better have that Supermax in Colorado. You ever heard of the Supermax prison in Colorado? So the Supermax prison in Colorado, I believe, houses only 400 plus inmates. And it's where they send, people that aren't in Guantanamo Bay, like terrorists. And these people, literally, you cannot get within 100 yards of that prison. It's like in the middle of the Rockies, dude. It's so secluded that they only have one way to be outside, and that's looking out their window. Mm-hmm. It is by far, you can look it up, the Supermax in Colorado. It is insane. And I think that if you're going to keep people like that alive, like serial killers, terrorists, child molesters, rapists. Yeah, child molesters and rapists, let the prison system do its thing, because if there's anything that prisoners hate more than anything than cops in prison, it's child molesters.
Very true.
And I think that is, give credit where it's due for them taking care of that shit. Fuck those people, because I personally would still believe they should be castrated. Chemical castration, anything.
Yeah, because you got guys in there who they did one thing in life and they fucked up, and they're going to be serving life in prison. So what's another life sentence by, maybe they realize where they are, and they're like, well, I'm here. Fuck it, I'm going to be here forever. I'm just going to kill this child molester. What's another life sentence?
Jesus Christ. I thought we were trying to talk about whether or not these people would last in a relationship.
Right.
But I think just by this topic alone, they're like, they're not getting along.
Well, I think
they could get along.
No, I feel like they can't. Because we can't even have. The topic was brought up, and both of y'all were just like, Jesus.
You gotta love his impersonations of us.
Yeah, I like to think that I handled that with respect and civilly.
We got a modern day Jeff Dunham over here.
Yeah, fair enough. But the original reason he brought it up was not necessarily talk about our political views, which is what it's divulging into, which is okay. But I'm just saying, it's like whether or not these people would get along, and I don't think so. I don't think those people who have those views, they would differ. It's like that I would say that's the biggest chasm that I've seen on that political whole so far. Like that, like all the rest of them were like, could they, couldn't they?
Well, at the very least, even that one, it's
even the middle left and middle right.
Yeah, even the middle left said death penalty is not really a good idea since we could kill innocent people. Life without parole is blah, blah, blah. But death penalty is a just punishment for those who have killed. So, yeah, but even the middle left, was like, it's not really a good idea, but, like, whatever. Keep doing it.
Yeah, but I feel as though, like, out of all of them, that one has the biggest chasm as far as difference in opinion. And I don't think those two people would be able to get along.
I don't know. I think that those two people would be able to get along.
Why is that?
Either way, somebody's going to be in prison for either life or somebody's going to die.
I mean, well, yeah, nobody's really arguing that.
Yeah. Well, I think my take away from like that whole thing of all those different differences, especially, it being from like 2012, is seeing like so many of those middle left or middle right takes could be called the opposite nowadays. Like,
yeah, I did notice that.
Yeah, it's like someone on the right, like far right today, would label someone who is like middle right as a leftist.
Yeah.
Right? And vice versa.
Yeah, like most of the middle is like, it seems very like okay, but that far right one, that's a kill.
Yeah, but that brings back into the whole age of tribalism, division that we've gotten into. It's like we could sit here, all three of us, and go through each and every single one of these policies and break them down to the core and discuss them and debate which side we agree on, which side we fall on. Mm-hmm. But that's us being able to have the conversation. People can't have that conversation nowadays. They honestly can't. And that's where we've fallen into this age.
I think you're going a bit extreme.
No, I'm serious. Have you tried? Have you seen though?
The idea
on
is
these
that
college campuses, what happens?
If we can have this conversation,
they're able to. Let me rephrase that. People are able to have these conversations, but unwilling to partake in them.
Well, yeah, they're uncomfortable subjects, Scotty. Why would you?
How are those? That's not uncomfortable subjects.
You're talking about killing people. You're talking about other people, what they do in the bedroom. You're talking about that's that's not normal topics. What I want to talk about is what do we have for dinner on Tuesday? What are we? How long can I wear these pair of underwears until they go bad?
But you're also self-acclaimed someone who is not political.
Yeah, I don't really follow the political realm whatsoever.
So we can rephrase the startup question of the entire show. If you are a political person, Does your political leaning, your political affiliation
What is it
play a
started
role?
No.
No, I'm saying we could rephrase, but we could rephrase that question.
Rephrase the question?
We could rephrase that question.
Whenever you sit here and you say, are you political people and can they get along in a relationship? I would still argue yes. It would just depend on how far they are along on that spectrum. And you say it yourself, you're like, yeah, if they go all the way to the left and right, then they can't get along. I think those people wouldn't get along with anyone. I mean, have you heard some of their opinions?
But I stated I could not date somebody who was a Democrat.
We didn't ask you, Scotty.
But I'm saying if you're a political person, it's very hard to do so. Let's look at Kellyanne Conway.
You said it
Kellyanne
can't
Conway
be done.
and her husband.
You said that you don't think that people who have different political opinions can be in a relationship.
I don't see it lasting.
I think they can. Like I said, I just think that it depends on where they line on that spectrum. I think that anybody that's as far out there as possible, I don't think they're getting in a relationship with anyone because they're just hard to deal with. That's all there is to it. But if you're a moderate person, the idea is that, you're understanding to some degree. And the idea is that, you might be able to get along with someone who differs in opinion. Me and my wife, we don't agree all the time. But can we make it work? Yeah. I understand that, I guess, in your opinion, that there's core values that you feel as though you cannot differ on, or else it'll cause a dichotomy in the family. And it's like, it depends on how extreme your views are on that specific subject.
I wouldn't call them extreme views, though. I'm just saying, in today's political climate, I don't see it working. Just for the simple fact that I have been a part of that exercise.
You are paying way too much to media. Because I think that what you see on TV is not what takes place on the day-to-day
basis. This is just coming from somebody who knows the political climate we're in.
Yeah, and I think that you're paying way too much to media because I think what happens on the media is a very exaggerated form of what happens.
I think both
on
of you
a day-to-day basis.
I think both of you are kind of right. The media, obviously, it can often be, especially social media, a funhouse mirror of what reality is.
It's very inflated.
However, because so many people are engaged and involved with it, people are more, like Scotty is saying, more naturally political and more politicized. And they are more, what's the word? They're more willing to dive into like politics and whatnot. We've become a more political society as a whole than we have been just 10 years ago when that little list was about. So I think both of you are kind of like in the right in your takes, but the truth is somewhere, like everything, it's somewhere in the middle.
Well, that really falls in line. It falls in line with the opinion that I stated, which is that it depends on how far along you are on that spectrum of your political view.
And the whole point is that as a society, we're all more politically engaged.
Depending on how far you are, like I would say, I'm dead center because I don't think I have enough information on either side to make a political. I think from that little take, I think I fall a little bit more left, maybe.
That's why I got the blue behind you.
Yeah. That's why I argue with Scotty.
He's never coming back.
I just feel it in my bones, my liberal bones. I have to argue with Scotty. I don't know why I was born to do this. but I
Scotty would argue that liberals don't have bones, at least not a backbone.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Well, I got one, and I'm talking to you. All right. Yeah. But yeah, I think that depending on how far, because I feel as though the more you follow politics, it's like the media is exaggerating it. That's literally what they do. That's their goal. They want to grab your attention. No one is going to pay attention to like average Joe Blow who's just sitting at his house drinking a beer and watching WWE on his TV. No one cares about, people doing just menial tasks on a day-to-day basis. You're not seeing a television show about a guy who goes in Moses' yard and then comes inside and eats some ramen noodles and then goes to bed at 7 p.m. Like nobody's watching that guy or a woman. It doesn't matter. But the idea is that it's like whenever you're watching TV or you're watching something, you want to see it inflated. You want to see an exaggerated version of it. You want to see it, just like the most ridiculous and controversial things that you could possibly see. And that's what grabs people's attention. So the media is inflating your perspective of, all these different ideas that you have. And because of that, you think as though, someone who is, who two people who have two political, who differ in political bias wouldn't be able to make the relationship last. And I think that what you think of where someone falls on that political spectrum is way further out than I would say the average person. The average person is probably not that far in difference as far as political opinion. They do have difference in opinions, but I think that we're all capable of having a conversation about it and being adults about it. Maybe that's just me, but it's like, well, I see people on a day-to-day basis who have difference in political opinions and their relationships are lasting. And it's like some would say that they have strong political opinions and they make it last. You know, it's a give and take whenever it comes to a relationship. But I think that what you think of when you think of one, a relationship, and two, political bias, it just goes to the extreme. And I think that that's just a bad representation.
It's a nice soliloquy you just had. But I mean, in retrospect, you know, I speak on things from experience, not the media. What the media tells me.
I think
I am the media now. I am the media now. First of all, hold up, sir. You just saying your choirly conduct or whatever the fuck you want to do at church. You're just saying your little song. Hold up now. Telling me the media tells me what to do. First of all. No. I've learned from experience, sir. It does not align in a political climate that we are. But you're coming from a view of not being political. I'm coming from a view of knowing the political realm.
Yeah, I'm coming from a perspective of the day-to-day life. I'm not burying myself in all these political, news realms and stuff. I'm just like, here's just Joe Blow going to work and home and eating.
There you have it, folks. Joe Blow on the show. Thanks for tuning in to UnWoKeN. Telling you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you motherfuckers who don't want to listen to it. Back with Carter Semino behind the screen, producing this fine show. Mr. Alex Mejia back on the show. I'm Scott Davis. Make sure to like and subscribe to this channel. Make sure to follow Acadiana Cast Network on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Lord Scotty D on Instagram and at Scotty D on TikTok. We are still on TikTok. Not posting yet, but we are still on TikTok. Folks, thank you for tuning in. That's all. We'll see you next week.